Hi, in this video I would like to share with you some tips on how to choose a moka pot. Which type, which brand, which material and which size, which is important. Because I used to run a small e-commerce shop selling Bialetti several years ago, that's why I know that the most common mistake people do, especially buying online, is choosing a wrong size or wrong volume. Let me explain. Historically, traditionally, it all started with Bialetti, but all other producers nowadays still use the same approach to differentiate their models by size in so-called cups. You see, here I have Bialetti Moka Express for 1 cup original. Here I have some Chinese copy of Bialetti for 3 cups, and here I have Brikka for 2 cups, as you see, and they also have models for 4, 6, 9, 12 and even 18 cups, but 18 cups, please don't buy it, it's a disaster. So, these so-called cups in which they measure, it's not a mug like this one, as people in many countries get used to drink coffee out of. It's rather small Italian cups for espresso like this one or even smaller. Roughly speaking, approximately one so-called cup gives you 45 milliliters of coffee output, or 1.5 fluid ounce. So you can calculate any model. 3-cup moka pot will result in 130 milliliters of coffee output, or 4.5 Swiss American units. Another example, 6-cup, respectively, will give 170 milliliters, and so on. It's important to understand that I'm talking about coffee output, because during the process some water stays inside, and here in the lower bowl you need to add a little bit more water. For example, 6-cup will need 300 milliliters. That's why sometimes you see different numbers in the product descriptions, because they write input, not output. But anyway, you don't need to know these numbers, these figures, because every time you use it, you should fill it fully until this mark, until this line inside. If you don't have, if your moka pot doesn't have any marks, just fill up to this safety valve level. And here we come to another important point. This size question is not about the maximum of coffee you can brew. It is also about the minimum amount you can brew. Because every moka pot, every time you use it, you need to fill it fully with water, fill it fully with ground coffee. You can't change this proportion. Every amount is fixed. Why? For example, why can't you add less water? That's because of the physics behind the process of moka pot brewing. Probably you are familiar with it, but let me briefly explain. So, you have water here, and you have free space of air here. You start heating the water, and when it reaches almost boiling point, but a little bit below, the steam started to build up here in the free space in the upper part of the lower bowl. The steam expands, creates the pressure, and it pushes the hot water through this funnel upwards. If you will add less water, okay, plus minus 10 milliliters doesn't count, of course, but if you will add significantly less water, what would happen? You will have more free space here, so you will need more steam to build enough pressure. More steam means you need more temperature. So if you are using less water, by the time the needed pressure will be created, the water will start boiling, and it will result in brewing your coffee with boiling hot water, which will give you burnt, bitter taste, which you don't want, probably. The same applies to the ground coffee you use and which you put inside this funnel. You should every time fill it fully with no holes, and ideally evenly, because this coffee pack should create needed resistance, so every coffee particle would be wet, so water would come through every coffee particle. Because if you will leave some spaces, holes, the water coming up will just find the easiest way for itself. It will just bypass the ground coffee, and in the upper part you will get just browny, watery drink, not a real strong coffee like moka pot should brew. Yes, here I should say that sometimes people say that moka pot is an espresso coffee maker, that it brews espresso. Well, that's not true, honestly, at least by the modern standard. Because here you have pressure of 1.5, maximum 2 bars, and real espresso need at least 6. Maybe in 60s they call it espresso, but nowadays, by modern standards, it's not. But still, the coffee should be strong enough, much more concentrated, much more extracted, if compared to Aeropress, for example. Yes, by the way, you will need to use around 4.5 grams of ground coffee per this cup. Again, another example, 6-cup model will use every time 26, 27, 28 grams of ground coffee, and you can't change it. Of course, it depends on the ground level, but still, plus minus 1 gram is the amount you will use. And now let's switch to the second most important question when it comes to choosing a moka pot. Which type to prefer? Which type based on materials they are made of, I mean. And here we have option 1, aluminium or aluminum made moka pots, and it is also the most traditional option because the first moka coffee maker invented back in 1930s was made of aluminium actually. And there is an interesting story behind it because during Mussolini regime Italy was under sanctions, banned from importing metals, and they used to have only their own aluminium sources. That's why propaganda declared that aluminium is a metal of new era, of new Italian economy, and so on, blah blah blah. Like everything should be made of aluminium. It was a small historical insight why we still have so many aluminium models on the market. But there is another fact. You see, this shape, this traditional classical shape of moka pot, it is achievable only with aluminium. You will not find stainless steel model with that shape, probably, I assume, due to technological limitations, but let me know in comments if you know exactly why. But let's get back to aluminium. So, there are two concerns about aluminium. First of all, people believe that aluminium is harmful, it causes Alzheimer disease, etc. I talked with my friends who are PhDs in chemistry, and they assured me that it's not an issue, that this fact was refuted many years ago, but still I don't want to change anyone's opinion. I'm just explaining why some people are afraid of aluminium. And the second fact about aluminium, it is not a ferromagnetic metal, that's why it will not work on induction stove, electric stove. Yes, gas stove for sure, fire camp probably, but not induction. Partially for that reason we have the second type of moka pots, stainless steel models. I don't have it with me right now, but I will put some picture here and some link below. For example, it's Bialetti Venus, the most popular stainless steel model by Bialetti. Theoretically, it should work with induction since it's stainless steel. But in fact, any modern induction stove has minimum diameter of kitchenware it will work with. Usually it's around 13 centimeters in diameter. So that's why the smallest stainless steel models will not work, in fact, on induction. 2-cup Bialetti Venus will not work. 4 cups, 6 cups, 10 cups, okay, it will work. And as you probably noticed, there is a different size chart for stainless steel models. 2 cups, 4 cups, 6 cups, 10 cups, while aluminium models have 6, 9, 12. I don't know the logic behind it, but I know that all other producers also copy this approach by Bialetti to make stainless steel and aluminium models in different size variations. Okay, and also we have the third type, combinated models specially made for induction stoves. Bialetti calls Bialetti Moka Induction or Bialetti Moka Induzione. Other producers have similar models. They are combinated. The bottom part is made of stainless steel and very wide. That's for diameter of the induction stove. While top part is made of aluminium traditionally with traditional shape, and we can paint it in different colors. So Moka Induction are most universal models that will work. Yes, it will work not only on induction, gas, electric, any stove. So in generally 3 types: aluminium, stainless steel, and combinated stainless steel aluminium. But there are 3 standalone types of moka pots. And for example, Bialetti Brikka, which I have here, it's made of aluminium, but it has special valve which increases the pressure. So while here we have maximum 2 bars, here we have maximum 4 bars, which make it more closer to espresso. Still not a real espresso, but much more concentrated, much more stronger coffee is made out of Bialetti Brikka. It comes only in sizes 2 and 4 cups. There is one issue with it. Besides strong coffee, it delivers beautiful crema, silky foam on top, like on real espresso, but the problem is this foam is here. If you will pour your coffee into the cup, this foam will disappear. But still, it's a nice model if you want something more closer to espresso at home with no electricity. That's your choice. The second standalone model is Bialetti Mukka, which kinda designed to brew something like cappuccino, but not real cappuccino. It's too complicated in my taste, and I would prefer to choose simple Moka Express and standalone milk frother if I would like to do something like cappuccino at home. And there is a third standalone type of moka pots, electric moka pots. What's the problem with electric moka pots? Because any electric moka pot is the indeed the simple ordinary moka pot with some attachments underneath, which is a heating plate, some buttons, some simple electronics. And for the attachments, they ask too much money. I really think it's highly overpriced, because for the price tag of electric moka pot, you can buy a real espresso machine with a pump. So I don't see any reason to buy it, but maybe you will find it interesting. And now let's move on to the final question, to the final topic: which producer to choose, which brand to prefer. And here we have two popular opinions. One may say that Bialetti is the only original moka pot, they have invented it, and indeed nowadays still Bialetti coffee maker is a synonymous to a moka pot. On the other hand, someone else may say that, come on, it's not a rocket science at all, and why some Chinese company can't copy Bialetti and produce decent priced coffee maker. And I would say that both would be right. I personally would still prefer Bialetti, but I totally and clearly understand that I'm doing it only because of my love to the brand and brand's reputation. In the same time, honestly, I couldn't say that they have very good quality or quality control. I'm not talking about the design or its capability to brew coffee. I'm talking about metal finishing, metal works, for example, like this one. You see, so sometimes in small percentage you can buy original Bialetti, which will have some defect, but again, it will work. It just will have some metal work defects. So don't expect super attention to quality from Italians. And if we are talking about Chinese non-original moka pots, not only Chinese, by the way, because we have a lot of European producers, for example, and among good ones I could name Gnali and Zani, or Alessi, for example. And there is an interesting story behind Alessi brand. It's a family company specializing in interior design stuff, interior designs. Bialetti is also a family company, and indeed they are relatives because they have common grandfather or grand-grandfather, I don't remember. Anyway, Alessi produces moka pots in cool, sometimes weird designs. They are pricey, but maybe you will like it. I will put some examples on the screen now and the link in the description. So, talking about this non-original moka pots, non-Bialetti moka pots, most of them, they are really okay. Like this one, for example, which I bought 10 years ago on some street markets in Santiago de Chile for $5, and it still works. And I even didn't change yet this rubber gaskets. And yes, by the way, there is another factor to consider, because these rubber gaskets, you need to change it normally, time by time. And for example, if you will buy Bialetti Moka Express for 2 cups outside Europe, maybe it will be difficult to find spare parts for it. So pay attention that you will need access to a spare parts. So most of them, they are okay and brews good coffee, but we have few bad examples. For example, remember I told you about that it's very important to follow this calculated proportions of water, of air, of coffee. And the problem is that some coffees, they are made just with the wrong proportions, which result in overburned or, in contrary, under-extracted coffee. In that case, you better pay attention to the reviews, for example. I don't know, because there are so many moka pots on the market that no one could test every one, you know. And I would also put some links in the description for some non-original models that I used and they are okay. So, in general, really, there is a not big difference between Bialetti and non-Bialetti moka pots, and there are only 2 factual objective differences. First of all, it's this safety valve, you see, safety valve on Bialetti and safety valve on all other moka pots. Why we need it? Because if something will go wrong, if too much pressure is built up, for example, if you will put too fine ground coffee here, it will be blocked. So in order not to make a bada boom, we need to release this excessive pressure. Bialetti assures that their patented safety valve is better. I never experienced that my moka pot would blast, but I heard, on the other hand, hundreds of stories. I don't know what people did with their moka pots, but still. And another objective factual difference in stainless steel models, Chinese stainless steel models are very thin, while Bialetti stainless steel models have very thick layer of metal. I could not say that it influences coffee quality somehow, I'm not sure, but still, at least in case of Bialetti, you see where money goes for, right? I think that's all. That's the main criteria for choosing a moka pot. Let me know, please, in comments if I missed something or if you have some questions. Bye bye. Thanks.